Hi, welcome to this SQL tutorial video, and today we're going to look at the CHARINDEX function. Now the CHARINDEX function allows you to search for a piece of text within another piece of text, and it will return you the position of that text that you're searching for. It can get quite complicated. We're going to start with some very basic examples of CHARINDEX, but we are going to look at some very complicated kind of solutions to return specific chunks of text within other pieces of text. And we're going to touch on other functions as well while we're looking at this. I'll try and explain this as best I can. Hopefully I don't confuse things too much. So let's start with a nice easy example. So let's look at CHARINDEX. The syntax for CHARINDEX is type CHARINDEX, it'll go pink, it's a function, you put a bracket, and then it expects, CHARINDEX itself expects 3 parameters. The first parameter being the piece of text that you're searching for, the second parameter being the piece of text that you are searching within, and the third parameter is optional. And we'll look at that in a second. But as a quick example, let's say I want to look for the letter T in my FT type column. And I'm going to give it a little alias of T. So if I run this, we now have a column called T. It's got numbers in. So CHARINDEX returns the position of whatever it is you're searching for. So here, this is saying the letter T is at the 5th position within this field. And if we look at that, C-R-E-A-T, it is. And in here, in this one, it's at the 3rd position, A-R-T, and that is correct. It is the 3rd letter. And if we go down, there's an example here, I think, where the T doesn't feature until the 15th character of Legendary Creature. Now let's do the same example again. And this time we will include the third parameter. Now this third parameter here, what it says is, it offers you the chance to put a starting position in. So if I put 10 in here, and I'm just going to put T10. Now the reason you don't have to put anything for the third parameter is it defaults to 1. So if you don't put anything as a third option, it will start at the very beginning of a piece of text when it's searching for whatever it is you're searching for. If you put a number in, it'll start at the position of the 10th character before it starts looking for whatever it is you're searching for. So if we run this, what we'll see is here the first T is at position 5, but from the 10th character, which is somewhere here, the next T is at position 17. Now, it's important to note that 17 is the 17th character from the beginning of here. It isn't the 17th character from position 10. It's the 17th character within that piece of string as a whole. So there's a T at position 5 and there's a T at position 17. In here, there's a T at position 5, but there isn't another T afterward. So you get a 0 if there's nothing found. And if we go further down to the other example, so here, the first T was at position 15. So even if we started at position 10, the first T is going to be position 15. Okay, so we don't have to just search for a letter, we can search for a word. So if we put the column in and we just call it Druid, and then we search for this. Here we're searching for the word Druid. Now in all of these there isn't the word Druid, but if it doesn't find anything, it returns a 0 because there's no position for the word. If we go down here it's returned 21, and 21 is the position of the first letter of whatever it is you're searching for. So the D of Druid, because the D is the first letter of our search phrase, is the 21st character. But we don't have to just put a single word. We can put elf I don't know, Warrior, I can see there's an example. And if we run that, and we go down, the position 12, this 12 is the position of the first letter, the E in this case. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, what I want to do is, if I just go back to the original SQL, let's get rid of those. If I go back to the original SQL, what I want to do is I want to return values where the first part of this field here, so the number before the slash, is greater than this value. So the first thing I need to do is break up this field here and return just the left portion before the slash. Now, in this example, it's one number slash one number, but if we go further down, you will see that there are, if we go down to here, there are examples where it's two numbers and then one number, or two numbers and two numbers, or one number and two numbers. There's different examples. So it's not going to be one number slash one number. So we need to consider that in some cases we're going to have a number to look at, and in some cases it might be two numbers. So we're going to get, first of all, the position of the forward slash, and to do that we use CHARINDEX. So what we're searching for, forward slash. Where are we searching? In our stats column, and we'll call it forward slash. So if we run this, the forward slash is at position 2. It's the second character. And if we go further down to 9,000 or whichever one it was, the forward slash here is the third character. And there it is, return the number 3. So what we want is the left of the forward slash. So we can use a function called left, and that's going to return a left amount of characters. So if we say, okay, return me left, we want to return the left portion of our stats field. But just as an example, I'm just going to do it for our type field. And if we just put 5, this will return us the first 5 characters, the left 5 characters of this field. And I can change that to 15. And it'll return us 15 characters. Now, obviously, we're not interested in that. We're interested in this. So, so let's begin by changing this to be FT stats. And I could put the number 1 in there. And if I run that, I'm just going to give it an alias. If I run that, we get 0. That's perfect for this here. But if I go down to that number 1,000, we'll see that actually number 1 isn't correct. It should be 10, or it should be 12 or 15. So we can't put a number in here. We can't put a static entry in here. We've got to somehow calculate it. And we calculate it by using the result of this CHARINDEX. Now we can see the result of the CHARINDEX because it's here. So CHARINDEX in this case is returning 3. We don't want the first 3 characters. We want the first 2 characters. So what we can say is, because we know our function, the CHARINDEX, returns a number, and we know that the left parameter, the second parameter of our left function, expects a number, we can use CHARINDEX, the result of this. We can use the result of that. But it's returning kind of a character too many. So it's returning 3 here, but we don't want 3. We want it to be 2. Because the 3 is the position of the left of the slash, but we want the first 2 characters, the characters before that. So we don't want the 3, we want the number less than 3. So we can say here, left this field, the result of this, which is going to get us a number 1 too many, and we can say -1. If we run that, it takes a second. If we run that, and if we go down here, you'll see our left numbers are changing. And if I go down to 900 and something, our left numbers now are correct. 16, 15, 12. So it's worked out. That's 2, and then that's 12 and 15, 11. So now we've got that information. Now we've got this value that we're interested in. We can use it. This is the left portion of this field, but we can use it. So we can say the result of this, and the result of the left function is always a number. So the result of this, oh, sorry, it's not a number, it's text, but it can be used as a number. If I go down here and I do, and we can say the result of this is greater than this field, which is the FT sum and value. And if I run that, now it's only returning values where the left part of this field is greater than this number here. 10 is greater than 9, 10 is greater than 8, 12 is greater than 4. You can see that. And if we do it the other way, or we can even do equals, you'll see that the, if we go down a little bit, 2 equals 2. If we go down to the larger examples, oh, in fact, the larger examples won't be there because they don't match that condition. So we've been able to get the left portion of that. We've been able to use the left portion of that to do it as some sort of condition in our where clause. Now let's look at getting the right hand portion of that. So let's put this back in. So in order to work this out, we need to do a little calculation. So let's think about this. If I go to these fields here, these are good examples. What we want to see is the right hand value to the right of the forward slash. In this case, it's a single figure. In this case, it's 2 figures. So if we know this, the forward slash is position 3, and we know the full length of this field is 5 characters. So what we want to do is we want to kind of say, all right, 5 characters less 3 is 2, and that's the number we're interested in returning, the 2 characters. And here, 4 characters less 3 leaves 1, and that's the number we're looking for, the amount of characters we want to return. So that's kind of the math of what we're trying to do here. So we start with the full length. How long is this field? So if I put that in here, we've got this option called len that returns the length of a field. Oops. So if we do that, if we run that, we now get the length. So if we run just down here to our 900s, our field in these examples here, it's 5. The position of the forward slash is 3. 5 less 3 is 2, and we want the 2 characters. And that's kind of how the math's going to work. So what we're going to say here is we're going to use a new function called right. And right does the opposite of left. It returns the right portion of a piece of text. The piece of text we're interested in is our stats column. So this function requires 2 things. What field do you want to return values from, and how many values from the right do you want to return? And this is where we need to do this little bit of math. So the math's going to be the length less the position of the forward slash. So the length is nice and simple. There it is. I'm just going to copy that, put it in here. And then we say minus, and the minus is going to be a result of this value here. So if I take that, copy that and put it in here, and then we close it fully here. And if I run this, and if we go down to position 900 and something, we will see. So now here, left is 10 and right is 10. Left is 10 and right is 6. Left is 15 and 50. You can see them anyway. You see that. So we've now got the left portion and we've got the right portion, which is very helpful. So now let's think about doing something else. Please also note that I've got very specific conditions in here. So I'm only showing where the stats field, this field has a forward slash. I'm only showing where there's a number. I'm ignoring certain characters. So this, you could end up getting errors with your char index if it's trying to search for kind of values in a piece of string that's not long enough, or you might have problems with right and left or len depending on your values that you're searching. So I have put very specific conditions in here to avoid any unnecessary SQL errors for this video. Now I want to do one more example here, and that's, let's imagine I want to return a piece of text within a piece of text. So let's think about the name column. The name column might have more than one word, and I want to return the second word. If there's 3 words or more, I want to return the second word. So let's think about that. So first of all, I want to add a condition so that we only return values that have got 3 or more words. And the words are going to be separated by spaces. So what we can say is, in order to find whether it's got 3 or more words, we can just search for the amount of spaces. So what we say is len, which we've looked at before, ft name, minus len, and then instead of it being just ft name again, we're going to get rid of the spaces. So we're going to call something called replace ft name, and we're going to search for spaces and return them with no spaces. So what we're saying here is, if I close this up properly, well, in fact, let's look at it a little bit. Let's look at it visually first of all. Let's look at this. Len ft so there's the length of our field, and then if we get rid of the spaces, now I have done videos on len and replace and all this sort of stuff before, so I'll put links in the description for this if you need to know a little bit more of that. But what replace will do is it'll get rid of a particular value and replace it with something else. So in this case, I want to get rid of the spaces and replace them with kind of an empty field, just to get rid of the spaces. Everything's all closed up. So you can see now here, if we look at this embodiment of agonies, there's no spaces down. Embodiment of agonies is all one word in this example. And then if we wrap a len around that, we're now getting a different length. So if we look at this, 2 spaces here, and so if we look at the length before and after the replace, we start with 21, we go down to 19, the difference is 2. So what we can say is where the length minus the length of the field without spaces is greater than 1. So 21 minus 19 is greater than 1. Because if we look at this an example, 11 minus 11 is 0. It doesn't have any spaces. So that's perfect. We don't want to see that. If we look at this an example, 19 less 18 is 1. It's only got 1 space. We want it to have more than 1 space because we want more than 2 words. So if we run this now, we should now get only those values that have got more than 2 words. Now, and with that in mind, let's look at returning the position of the first space. So if we do a char index and we search for a space within our name field, and we'll call this first. So there's the first space. What I want to do, like I said, I want to return the second word in all of these here. So what I'm interested in is the first space and the second space. So the first space, the second word is going to be surrounded by the first space and the second space. So I need the position of those two. So let us now say char index, search for a space, and then in our field. But then I'm going to give it a starting position of the first space plus 1. So if I take this here and I put that there and add 1 to it, we should get the position of the second value. So if we look at this, the first space is at position 11 and the second is 14. And in between is the word of. So the reason we had to put the plus 1, if we don't put the plus 1, then it's going to start searching for a space at the position of the first space. So it's always going to find it at the very first position, which is the same space. So you're never going to, you need to put the plus 1, otherwise the value is just not going to be correct. So you need to start at the position of the first space, the character after it. So the position plus 1, and that's where we get the values that we need. Now then, thinking about this, we're going to use something new called substring. And the substring returns a piece of text within a piece of text. To use substring, you need to say, this piece of text, I want you to get me this many characters from a starting position. So let me show you what I mean. If we just put name, and if we say 310. So what this is doing is it's returning 10 characters from position 3. Okay, so position 3 is the B, E, M, B, and then 10 characters from that B, the next 10 characters. That's what it does. Tell me, it's not saying give me a start and an end, it's saying give me a start and the amount of characters to return. So if I change that down to 4, it might be a little bit clearer to see. BODI, you can see that. GH begins at the A and the 4 characters A, V, E, comma. So, for us to get this right, our substring has got to begin at the first space plus 1. Because that's going to be the O in this example or the G in this example. So if I now put, this is the first space. If I get that and I replace this 3 with that. But we need to put a plus 1. Otherwise it's going to include the space. So if I run this now, we get from the O 4 characters, O, F, space, A. From the G, by chance the guru actually works, but only because it's 4 characters and I'm returning 4 characters. So we've got the position of the first character now. Now we need to calculate the amount of characters that we're going to return. In this case, we want to return 2 characters. For all, in this case, we want to return 4 characters. So now let's look at what we're seeing here. 14, if we look at these two numbers, in fact, I'm going to just put a plus 1 here because that's the position of the first space, the character of the first space. So now if we look at this, the second space is at position 14. The first character after the first space is at position 12. 14 minus 12 is 2, and that's what we want to return. 12 minus 8 is 4, and that's what we want to return. So I think we can use this value less this value to replace this number 4 here. So we want this value, which is this. And I'm going to wrap it all around brackets here. I'm actually going to put it on the next screen as well, the next thing as well. Then we want that minus this result here. So if If ever you're unsure, by the way, of which bracket relates to which closing bracket relates to which opening bracket, if you just go to the right of that bracket, it'll go grey, and the start bracket will go grey as well. So I want to be in here. So I've got this char index all enclosed, this char index plus 1, and I'm going to say minus the result of this, and I'm going to wrap that in brackets as well. And brackets are quite important to get these things right. If I run that, we should now see of Guru Waker. You can see the second word is returned. I think that's as much as I need to go through on this. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing at the end. Any questions, please let me know, and I'll reply to any queries. As always, thanks a lot for your time. See you next time.